What happened to the American F-35 fighter jet that mysteriously ejected its pilot and then flew for another 60 miles at low altitude before crashing in South Carolina in mid-September? That's the million-dollar question, or should I say, the $100 million question. Hello and welcome. I'm Guy Taylor, the National Security Editor here at the Washington Times, and I'm joined by my colleague, Ben Wolfgang. Ben, you've led our reporting on this crash. Walk us through what happened.
Well, look, I mean, we've had a number of course, aircraft incidents domestically, crashes over the years. That's, sadly, is nothing new. What happened here, I think, is pretty unprecedented, at least in my time covering national security and covering the military. Where you have a pilot out of South Carolina, Joint Base Charleston, a Marine Corps pilot flying an F-35 on a routine training mission and ejecting from the plane for reasons that nobody understands. And he said an aircraft failure is the reason why. Parachuted into someone's backyard outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and the plane continued on autopilot for about an hour. Flew another 60 miles, was almost inverted at one point, flying 100 feet.
Witnesses saw this.
Almost upside down, flying 100 feet above tree cover through South Carolina, and eventually crashed into a field. And the Marine Corps lost the plane for a brief period of time because the transponder apparently wasn't working. So if you were going to write a script about a dysfunctional fighter jet program and you wanted one incident to sort of encapsulate all of the various problems that the F-35 program has had over its 20-year history, you'd probably write an incident that looks something like this. It was almost like something out of a movie, and there are more questions than answers, to say the least, right now.
One of the things that you reported on was this really lively and disturbing 911 call that the Marine pilot made after parachuting down into somebody's backyard.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, I think there's a lot of sympathy for the poor 911 dispatcher on the other end of the line who didn't seem to know what to make of what was going on.
I guess we got a pilot at our house, and he says he got ejected. So he ejected from the plane. So we just see if we could get some ambulance, please.
I'm sorry, what happened?
We got a pilot in the house, and I guess he landed in my backyard, and we're trying to see if we could get a ambulance to the house, please.
The shock in the voice of the 911 dispatcher, I think, was shared by a lot of us covering this story. That what the heck is going on here?
We had a military jet crash. I'm the pilot. We need to get rescue rolling. I'm not sure where the airplane is. It would have crash landed somewhere. I ejected.
Sort of like Top Gun 2 Tom Cruise moment when he walks into a diner. That's really, I mean, real life imitating art almost. It's a crazy situation. Let's talk a little bit about the F-35.
Sure.
I mean, I framed this as this is a black eye for the program.
Right.
But the F-35 is a superior fighter jet platform that no other country in the world has unless we've sold it to them. The United States has sold it to them. Is that
That's
right?
right.
How many countries have it, and where are we at with this $1.7 trillion program?
Sure.
I mean, what's the relevance of this thing?
So we're up to, I think, about 9 countries. I think soon going to be up to about a dozen. Mostly allies, the UK, other European nations. Israel has it as well. Norway just recently did some pretty groundbreaking work with their F-35s. This was sold, again, this is going back to the early 2000s, sort of the post 9/11 era when this program began. This was sold as sort of the do-everything military craft. This is the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps all use it. They've got different versions, but they all use it. And it was sold as this can do ISR, surveillance reconnaissance. This can be a fighter jet. This can essentially do just about anything, outside of mass transport, of course, but anything you could expect a fighter jet, a military aircraft to do, the F-35 can do it.
And it can evade radar in a way that the F-16s
aren't able
which
to,
even are superior still, they aren't able to do.
Just are not able to do it. So this was essentially billed and sold to the American people for, again, well over nearly $2 trillion as the plane that's going to do everything for decades to come for the U.S. military, and that's why it's worth the cost. Now, has it lived up to that cost? That's, we can get into the details about that. Certainly a lot of people say no, it has not.
So you've tried, as of the time that this video is circulating, we haven't gotten an explanation from Lockheed Martin, which is the real beneficiary of the contract to build the F-35. We haven't got a clear explanation for them.
No.
Why did the transponder not work?
Correct.
What are the, the Pentagon has put out some statements, but we don't have a clear explanation. Exactly what we have are more questions than answers. I think that's a fair characterization. That is how we've reported it. And you've done some digging, though.
Right.
And you've talked to Lockheed sources. I mean, why what are the theories about what happened here?
It's fascinating, right? So nothing from Lockheed Martin so far, virtually nothing from the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing based out in North Carolina, which is where it's overseas, Joint Base Charleston, and the pilot who was flying this aircraft. There are a lot of theories out there. I mean, one of the most interesting ones, for which, there's frankly not a lot of evidence for, but it's been speculated by some, did the ejection seat malfunction? Because the Marine Corps version, the F-35B, is the only one that has an auto eject feature on it. The ones that are used by the Navy and the Air Force don't have that. And the Marine Corps version can take off and land vertically, almost more like a helicopter. So it has this specific feature that can eject the pilot if there's a sense of trouble with the aircraft. Did that malfunction? That would answer a lot of questions, because it's unclear why he bailed out of a plane that seemed to be working perfectly and was able to fly along for another 60 miles. That would answer that question. On the other hand, folks in the aviation industry, in national security circles, tell me if there was a hint of that, the Marine Corps is going to ground every single one of these F-35s until they figure it out. Because
that hasn't happened.
And that has not happened.
Like a recall on a defective autopilot.
We need to, if there's any chance that this thing's going to eject a man or a woman in uniform involuntarily, which could, let's be honest, it could easily kill someone. So they're not going to allow that to happen. So I don't buy that theory, although it would explain part of this incident.
Okay, so that could be the simple explanation, but we don't know. But that at the same time, the Pentagon, the DIA, the CIA, the U.S. intelligence community for a while has warned about foreign adversaries' hacking capabilities and cyber operations. Has there been any discussion about the prospect that this superior F-35 fighter jet could be vulnerable to an adversary hacking operation of some kind? Has that come up in the discussion at all?
I mean, I've certainly asked the question, and I've gotten basically no response from Lockheed Martin or from the Pentagon on that. But you're right to bring it up, and I'm sure you remember this guy a few years ago. Turkey used to be a part of the F-35 program. They were essentially kicked out of it because they bought the Russian S-400 missile defense system, and there were concerns in the Pentagon that Russia could use that to essentially hack into the F-35. So that concern isn't new. It's not unfounded. The idea of could a foreign adversary, and let's be honest, we're probably talking about Russia, China, Iran, or North Korea, would be able to hack into this program. So that's been top of mind for folks for a while. Now, did that happen here? I haven't seen any indications of that, but it hasn't been ruled out.
To be clear, we're not getting that kind of a statement out of the sources we're talking to at this point.
Absolutely
but it's part
not.
of the discussion and it's out there.
Well,
Ben,
and that's part of the issue, right? Until we get definitive answers, these rumors keep circulating and gaining steam. And so if we're talking about months until there's some kind of definitive report or a conclusion to this investigation, the rumors are going to get crazier and crazier, quite frankly.
That brings us to the end of this special segment on Ben Wolfgang's coverage of the mysterious F-35 fighter jet crash. Ben, thank you so much for your reporting on this. I value it so much. I know our readers do. And thank you to our viewers and readers. And a special thanks to you, Washington Times subscribers, for supporting our journalism. I'm Guy Taylor. Have a good day.